in any position you can turn on your camera, please do so. Out of
Thank
mercy.
you very much, Anuttama Prabhu. Very well.
Namo Madhupati Prabhu. Nice to see the devotees are manifesting from, they're coming from the unmanifested to the manifest state. It's paralleling the consciousness. So should I just start then?
Just I would request Madhuri Prabhu, please introduce Prabhuji.
Okay.
So I'd like to welcome Anuttama Prabhu, who is a senior disciple of our Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, regional director of ISKCON Communications, GBC representative of Northeast, and many other different places. How many places, Anuttama Prabhu, to be exact?
Well, I'm on the Mayapur executive board, so I go all the way to Mayapur to the east. I go to Kansas City to the west, north, now kind of maybe New York, and then at least for now south to Alachua.
Mm.
And
Yeah. Yeah. So, and a couple of years back, he gave us a very nice leadership training at our yatra, and we are very glad he gives his leadership course around the globe, along with his communication course. And this is our now we welcome him here. He's also recently, North America is structured in different zones, and is the area GBC of Northeast. So we'd also like to welcome him in that capacity, and I'd like to welcome him with a loud Haribol.
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 thank you all very much. Nice to be here.
Also humbly requesting everybody, please, take off your video, that please show your video, and please mute your phone line so that there won't be any disturbances.
Yeah, even if you're cooking dinner or cleaning dishes or sweeping the garage or whatever, that's okay. At least we can see there's a person there. The names are transcendental, but it's nice to see a person. Nice to see everybody's smiling face. Thank you all very much. So we'll just start with a very brief kirtan. It's a little hard with Zoom. We've all experienced this for many years, but it's nice still to hear the holy name. So you can join in, or you can mute and join in. Maybe sometimes that's even better, so that you can individually chant. So we'll just chant Prabhupada's pranam mantra and Jai Shri Krishna and Hare Krishna a couple times. So Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Ite Namine Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Ite Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschachari Satarine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschachari Satarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Everybody, Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna
Krishna, Hare
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 Rama
Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare
Rama
Rama
Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya
Prabhupada
Prabhupada Jaya
Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya
Jaya
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya
Jaya
Prabhupada, Jaya
Prabhupada
Prabhupada, Jaya
Jaya
Prabhupada.
Prabhupada
Jai. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
So you've all been reading the Nectar Devotion, and Madhupati Prabhu told me we're starting on page 54, at least in the big book, chapter 6, How to Discharge Devotional Service, and beginning with the paragraph. The next important items are as follows. There's a long list, and I think rather than comment on a bunch of them, I'll just read it all through. And then I have like some kind of remarks I just thought of a few minutes ago, just I'll say prepared marks, but just prepared in the last 15, 20 minutes or so. And then we can open it up to questions. Does that sound okay? So there it is in the page. Maybe even we can take turns reading, because that way my voice won't give out. I'll read for a while. How's that? So the next important items are as follows. One should decorate the body with tilak, which is a sign of the Vaishnavas. The idea is that as soon as a person sees these marks on the body of a Vaishnava, he will immediately remember Krishna. Lord Chaitanya said that a Vaishnava is he who, when seen, reminds one of Krishna. Therefore, it is essential that a Vaishnava mark his body with tilak to remind others of Krishna. 2. In marking such tilak, sometimes one may write Hare Krishna on the body. 3. One should accept flowers and garlands that have been offered to the deity and the spiritual master and put them on one's body. Sometimes we see it in certain parts of India, it's like, or even in the West, it's like, no, don't give me the garland. Like, don't deserve the honor. But actually, as Vaishnavas, we accept the garlands because it's prasadam. So we should take those prasadam garlands that have been offered to the Lord and wear them and smell them, and they're purified. And then we can share them with others as well. So, 4, one should learn to dance before the deity. I was at New York yesterday at their, what they call the College of Bhakti, I think they call it, or the School of Bhakti. So the second kirtan, they told everybody, okay, stand up. We're going to teach you the Prabhupada step. So they taught everybody the Prabhupada step. They taught them how to dance, and within a few minutes, they had about 45 people dancing nicely, Hare Krishna. One should learn to bow down immediately upon seeing the deity or the spiritual master. I'm going to break my rule. I may comment as we go. There's a nice story with Srila Prabhupada in the very beginning days. It was Gargamuni Prabhu went to Swamiji, then they called him, when devotees were just starting to bow down in front of Prabhupada. And he said, Swamiji, I don't feel like bowing down. Is that okay? And Prabhupada hadn't insisted people bow, but he came and he asked him. And he said, that's okay. You may not feel like it, but if you do it, the feeling will come. So a lot of these rules that are there, we may not feel like bowing down, but if we do it, the feeling comes. We may not feel like serving the devotees, but if we do, the feeling comes. So it's important. 6, as soon as one visits the temple of Lord Krishna, one must stand up. 7, when the deity is being borne for a stroll in the street, the devotee should immediately follow the procession. In this connection, it may be noted that in India, especially in Vishnu temples, the system is that apart from the big deity who is permanently situated in the main area of the temple, there's a set of smaller deities that are taken in procession in the evening. In some temples, it is accustomed to hold a big procession in the evening with a band playing and a nice big umbrella over the deities, who sit on decorated thrones on the cart or palanquin which is carried by the devotees. The deities come out onto the street and travel in the neighborhood, while the people in the neighborhood come out to offer prasad. The residents of this neighborhood all follow the procession, so it is a very nice scene. When the deity is coming out, the servitors in the temple put forward the daily accounts before them. So much was the collection. Where to go? I lost it. Where did it go? So much. Okay. Okay, didn't go all the way, Tom. Just went to the middle.
So much was the collection, so
Yeah,
much was
so
the
much is
expenditure.
expenditure. Thank you. Yeah. The whole idea is that the deity is considered to be the proprietor of the whole establishment, and all the priests and other people taking care of the temple are considered to be the servants of the deity. This is very, very old and is still followed. So therefore, it is mentioned here that when the deity is on stroll, the people, somebody can mute her or him if you could. The people should follow behind. Number 8. A devotee must visit a Vishnu temple at least once or twice every day, morning and evening. Parentheses, in Vrindavan, this system is followed very strictly. All the devotees in town go every morning and evening to visit different temples. Therefore, during these times, there are considerable crowds all over the city. There are about 5,000 temples in Vrindavan city. Of course, it is not possible to visit all the temples, but there are at least 12 very big and important temples which were started by the Goswamis and which should be visited. You want to scroll down now? We'll do the whole page down. And then, thank you. 9. One must circumambulate the temple building at least 3 times. Parentheses, in every temple, there's an arrangement to go around the temple at least 3 times. Some devotees go around more than 3 times, 10 times, 15 times, according to their vows. The Goswamis used to circumambulate Govardhan Hill. One should also circumambulate the whole Vrindavan area. 10. One must worship the deity in the temple according to regulative principles. Parentheses, offering arti and prasadam, decorating the deity, etc. These things must be observed regularly. 11. One must render personal service to the deities. 12. This is a nice one. One must sing. So any of you out there, you're holding back from singing. One must sing. 13. One must perform sankirtan. 14. One must chant. 15. One must offer prayers. 16. One must recite notable prayers. 17. This is one that nobody has trouble with. One must taste Mahaprasad. You can't do any of the rest, at least do that one, and your progress is assured. Prasad, food from the very plate offered before the deities. 18. One must drink charnamrita water from the bathing of the deities, which is offered to guests. One must smell the incense and flowers offered to the deity. 20. One must touch the lotus feet of the deity. Of course, we do that in our temples. The Jaris do that. Those that have second initiation, they do that. If we have home deities, of course, we can touch the lotus feet of the deity in our home. 21. One must see the deity with great devotion. 22. One must offer arti at different times. 23. One must hear about the Lord and his pastimes from Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and similar books. 24. One must pray to the deity for his mercy. 25. One should remember the deity. 26. One should meditate on the deity. 27. One should render some voluntary service. Very important in our Hare Krishna movement, rendering voluntary service. Prabhupada was somewhat unique in his emphasis in translating the word bhakti. Prabhupada would usually translate that as, we all know, devotional service. Some people may say bhakti is devotion. That's your own feeling, but devotional service means you're serving with devotion. So it's an important emphasis for us in the whole Gaudiya line. Here we're reading from Rupa Goswami. 28, one should think of the Lord as one's friend. 29, one should offer everything to the Lord. Okay, we can scroll up there. Madhupati, you want to read for a little while?
Sure. 30. One should offer a favorite article, such as food or a garment. 31. One should take all kinds of risk and perform all endeavors for Krishna's benefit. At any time you want to comment in between, you can stop.
Okay. I'll just mention in that connotation, it's interesting. Many of you may have seen Shyamasundar Prabhu's 3-volume book, his history of his time with Prabhupada, called Chasing the Rhino. about how Prabhupada has said that if you hunt for the rhinoceros, but if you're not successful, people will say, well, no one could bag a rhinoceros anyway, but very bold. So if you're successful, people think, oh, it's amazing. If you're not successful, they'll think it's amazing you tried. So in that mood, Shamasunda has these wonderful historical pastimes of him with Srila Prabhupada going to Russia and doing the big, the first big pandos in India and meeting the Beatles and so many amazing things in San Francisco. So the idea that we should be ready to take risks and perform whatever endeavors necessary for Krishna's benefit. Not crazy risks, not foolish, not suicidal risks. It's not that we should take such a risk that it's impossible. That's another thing, but you know, it's within. We'll talk about that actually a little more. So go ahead, Manapati Prabhu. But that's nice. We should take risks for this thing.
32. In every condition, one should be a surrendered soul. 33. One should pour water on the tulsi tree. 34. One should regularly hear Srimad Bhagavatam and similar literature.
I'm just going to ask the devotees as we go through these, if you see one that you have some questions about, take a note and we'll come back at the end. Okay?
35. One should live in a sacred place like Mathura, Vrindavan, or Dwarka. 36. One should offer service to Vaishnavas.
Now, just quick comment on this. We read above that one should serve the Guru. We read that one should serve the deity. Now here we're also reading one should serve the Vaishnavas. Sometimes we get a little carried away. We're ready to serve our Diksha Guru, but I don't really want to serve the devotees. But it's right here that it's also important that we serve the deity, the Guru, and all the Vaishnavas. We're servants of the servant to the servant. Thank you.
37. One should arrange one's devotional service according to one's means.
There's one story, I think Prabhupada tells, it's in the Shastra, of the devotee whose guru was coming to visit, and he was not of much means, but he cooked some very, very special opulent prasadam and nice everything for the guru. The guru is thinking, how is it possible that you afforded this? You don't have much money. And then after it was all done, that it was revealed that actually he had used the guru's money. He took the guru's money supposedly to serve the guru, but rather better than that, serve according to your own means. Don't use others' means, whether it's the guru's or your mother-in-law or your neighbors or anybody else. Just use the means you have and serve Krishna with devotion. Okay?
38. In the month of Kartik, October and November, one should make arrangements for special services. 39. During Janmashtami, the time of Krishna's appearance in this world, one should observe a special service.
We can see those last two automatically as members of ISKCON. We do that, this in community. Okay?
40. One should do whatever is done with great care and devotion for the deity.
Yeah, that's important. Sometimes whimsical bhakti is it still counts, but it doesn't count for much. So we should try as best we can that whatever we do with great care and devotion for the deity, for Krishna, for ISKCON, for the Guru. We should do everything conscious, right? Prabhupada coined this term, Krishna consciousness. We should be conscious of Krishna, conscious of our service, like very popular term these days, mindfulness. We should be aware of what we're doing. So as Vaishnava, that means we should be aware of Krishna. He's the supreme friend, supreme controller, supreme proprietor. So we should do everything remembering him and his position. Okay?
41. One should relish the pleasure of Bhagavatam reading among devotees and not among outsiders.
Very nice. You're all getting together, reading Bhagavatam, Gita, Nectar Devotions. Very good.
42. One should associate with devotees who are considered more advanced.
Important principle.
43. One should chant the holy name of the Lord.
I think you've all heard that one before. It's a good reminder.
Yeah, just last weekend we had Japa retreat.
Oh, nice.
Ramapad Maharaj and Shyam Sundar Prabhu came down from Houston.
Same Sham. Oh, Shamasuna from Houston. Nice. Very good.
44. One should live in the jurisdiction of Mathura.
Okay. Now the total regulative principles come to an aggregate
You can go down.
64 items. As we mentioned, the first are the primary 10 regulative principles, then come the secondary 10 regular principles, and added to these are 44. And scroll up there. Other activities. So altogether, there are 64 items for discharging the regulative practice of devotional service. Of these 64 items, 5 items, namely worshiping the deity, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, associating among the devotees, Sankirtan, and living in Mathura, are very important. The 64 items of devotional service should include all of our activities of body, mind, and speech. As stated in the beginning, the regulative principle of devotional service enjoins that all of our senses must be employed in the service of the Lord. Exactly how they can be thus employed is described in the above 64 items. Now, Srila Rupa Goswami will give evidence from the different scriptures supporting the authenticity of these many points. Jai. Rupa Goswami ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So what Prabhupada is referring there at the end is if you look ahead, if you have the book, chapter 7, chapter 8, several chapters, one after another, goes through a description of what we just read. So chapter 7 starts out, accepting the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. There is basically a page of supporting evidence for that point. Then accepting initiation from the spiritual master, there's a half a page of evidence for that. Serving the spiritual master, there's a paragraph for that. Following the footsteps of saintly persons, there's a page and a half. So more details are coming regarding these different items. So there may be some, we'll see if there's questions in a minute, but in general, if we're not clear on many of them, nothing to worry, because we're going to be reading as we go, as you all go through the book with more information. What does it mean? How does it apply? What's the argument? What's the reference for that? So that's coming up soon. But I wanted to just comment on a kind of a specific angle. We may think when we read this, like 64 items, that's a lot of items. I thought when you come to the Hare Krishna temple, you just have to chant, dance, and be happy, right? Anybody told that when you first come, right? We have books like that, right? Chant and be happy. Just chant, dance, and be happy. What's with these 64 items? You know, okay, you chant, dance, and then you're told, okay, well, then here's the 10 offenses. Whoa, I better be careful of that. And then I remember as a young devotee in the ashram, I was what we used to call a bhakti leader for a while, training up new people. And we actually had a rule, which is if there was some new person came to stay in the ashram or some new person in the congregation, the only person that could give them instructions was the bhakti leader. If you were not the bhakti leader, you can say, good morning, Hare Krishna, would you like more prasadam, whatever. Jai Prabhupada, you know, I like your Nursika, or that's a pretty sorry, you know, one of the ladies from another lady. That's it. Don't tell them, don't put your feet out there, don't put your feet out, don't put your hand here, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Because we found people, they would sometimes just think, this is a philosophy, this is a community full of rules. And generally, you don't join an organization because you want more rules. In fact, I was on the train today with Chandrasekhar Maharaj, and he was telling me that, well, actually, the conductor walked by all in a huff. He was very mad because he was saying that sometimes people get on the train without a ticket. They go to the bathroom and they close the door, so the conductor can't find them. So this conductor was saying, what's the point of rules? We happened to be sitting a couple seats away, so he just tried to get in the bathroom. The door was locked, so he was kind of venting in front of us. He said, what's the point of having rules? Nobody follows the rules. So we need rules. A few rules are good. But just to speak to this idea that sometimes, you know, so many rules can overwhelm people. And we can see when Prabhupada, if you read those beautiful Lilamrita descriptions of when Prabhupada was first teaching in the West, similar points, but it's not given as much detail when Prabhupada was in India. But he was very merciful and very, very tolerant. You know, you may know when Prabhupada first landed in America, he stayed at the home of Sally and what was his name? Agarwal. I can't remember his first name. You remember?
Gopal.
Gopal, good, thank you. Gopal and Sally Agarwal. They were not even vegetarians. And Prabhupada would come to their home. He was staying at the local YMCA. Prabhupada would come to their home. They would have home programs every night. While he was there, they'd invite some friends over. And to explain, one night Prabhupada came a little early, and Sally Agarwal would always try to clean up because they would eat meat and get rid of everything. She said, "Oh, Swamiji, you know, you came early. I haven't had a chance to clean up. It must be very disturbing to you." Something to that effect. "I'm sorry if it causes disturbance." Prabhupada's answer was, "Think nothing of it." Now, he just came from Vrindavan. He's coming to teach no illicit sex, no intoxication, no meat eating, no gambling. And here he's living with people that are eating meat. You would think, you know, and he's a sadhu, and she's married an Indian man, so she has some knowledge of the tradition. Gopal certainly knows the tradition. Prabhupada could have blasted them. What kind of nonsense is this in your house, blah, 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 your whole place is polluted, you might as well just move next door. What he could have said so many things, but because he understood their level of commitment to Krishna consciousness was minimal, they were his hosts. So like a gracious guest, he accepted whatever they offered him with gratitude and appreciation. There's so many stories like that. You read about when Prabhupada first went to San Francisco and they had Jagannath deities. That was a whole story with that. But Prabhupada just told all these young Western hippies at that time. Hippies, there wasn't very many years there were hippies, but they were there at that time. And Prabhupada told them, when you come, bring a fruit or some incense or some offering. So, you know, in India, there's so many rules about what you can bring the deities, what you can't, you know, you should be clean, the fruit should be clean. So you just bring some fruit, just do something. So in a similar way, as we make progress in spiritual life, there's more and more guidelines or recommendations given in the scripture. But we have to be a little careful ourselves, and we have to be a little especially careful with others that we don't, you know, overburden people and overwhelm them with so many rules. You know, don't sit like this, don't put your feet there, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. And they're like, I'm leaving. In fact, I have a lot of Western-born friends who came from, like, say, different types of Christian families, you know, and some of them very, very rule-oriented. And they rebelled. What is all these stupid rules? And I have friends who came from, you know, from India families, you know, Hindu families from India, who, you know, their mother and their grandmother told them all the rules, but no reasons for it. And, you know, you just you have to do this, and you have to do that, and don't ask any questions. But we all know in this day and age, especially we're all living in America, we're trained to ask questions. You know, part of the reason our country is in so much trouble these days because people are not asking questions. They're kind of just, you know, they're all listening to our different media silos and accepting whatever we hear, left, right, up, down, blue, red, whatever it is, without much questioning. So spiritual life, there's a famous Greek philosopher that said, an unexamined life is not worth leading. So becoming Christian conscious doesn't mean we don't ask questions. It means we ask more questions. So we have to be careful sometimes, but there's so many different rules. We want to gradually, Krishna conscious, Prabhupada explains, the Shastra explains, it's a gradual process of awakening our love for Krishna, you know, of awakening a taste, of gradually losing our taste for material attachments. So these different descriptions that are here, there's certain ones that are, you know, most important, and we should accept those things as we're inspired to do so. We should accept those things and apply them as we're enthused to do so. Otherwise, the danger is, and we see this sometimes in our communities, when people feel there's too many rules, they do one of two things, both of which are extremely harmful for one's spiritual life. One, they just quit. Too many rules, I'm leaving. I'm just leaving. And the worst thing would be if our own kids. If we only present rules to our kids, they're going to reach a certain age. Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Dad. Bye. I'm not going to the temple anymore. I'm not, I'll fold my palms as I walk by the deity room at home, but don't expect me to make any kind of commitment because it's just rules. So they'll quit. We see this with adults sometimes too. They get very active in our communities, and then too much is expected of them and they just go away. They don't kind of decrease their commitment. They stop their commitment, which is very sad. So even worse than that sometimes is when we're presented with lots of rules and regulations that are there, we pretend. And that's even worse. Better you give, 1 paisa with devotion, and then you give 100 rupees with just out of spite, or to impress your friends, or just because you think you're supposed to. Because our process is one of devotion. It's one of genuine, awakening. So we have to be careful of those things. So to whatever extent we can enthusiastically accept the different rules or regulations and guidelines, we should do that. And at the same time, remember that Prabhupada was very generous. Just like sometimes we see ourselves, we go to the japa retreat, we get fired up and we go home and we're thinking like, yeah, I'm going to chant 25 rounds a day. And 3 days later, we're thinking, I can't do this. Why did I say I was going to do that? And then we don't chant any rounds for a few days. Or we're like, I'm going to go to the temple and, they're doing a fundraiser and, I can give $1,000. Okay, I can give $1,000. But somebody convinced us to give $5,000. And we do that. And then we go home and we think about it. And we're so mad we don't go to the temple for a month, right? That would be an example of, that's not really, that's charity and mode of passion. We resent it. Maybe we can give $500,000. That's fine. But we should give what we can do with love and with enthusiasm. Just like in the Gita, it describes one who is moderate, or some translation says regulated, in their eating, sleeping, working, and recreation. They can conquer all the pains of material life, it says, through the practice of bhakti. Ultimately, the practice of yoga. For us, of course, is through bhakti. So Krishna himself is saying you have to be moderate in your eating, moderate in your sleeping, moderate in your working, and moderate in your recreation. Same thing. So recreation, what do you mean recreation? To recreate. Just like we have creative energy. So if you're too tired, you can't create. You can't think. You can't be artistic. You can't express yourself very well if you're too worn down. So part of Krishna himself says part of devotional life means recreation. For some of us, that may mean we're very academically oriented. That could mean you sit down and read 3 hours of Bhagavatam. For somebody else, like for me, recreation means there's a pond near my home. I have to take a walk around the pond. And I chant japa, and I stop once in a while. I watch the ducks, or the geese, or the fox, or the beaver, or the deer, or we got a lot of really cool animals there. And I do that keeping in mind, I try to keep in mind, this is Krishna's creation, this is Krishna's beauty, this is Krishna created the water, Krishna created the birds, Krishna created the heron who likes to come. Also, when I see the heron, I'm reminded I don't want to become a fish again, because I don't want that guy to catch me in his jaws, because herons are really cute if you're a human, but if you're a fish, they're not very cute. So those are kind of some good reminders too. So whatever, some of us, maybe we like to, we have to, it's Saturday, you're tired, you got to take extra rest. You recreate your energy in that way. And with kids, of course, the kids need to, play and do things like that. So as parents, recreation oftentimes especially means taking time with your kids. And we know, who knows what were Prabhupada's favorite 2 sports when he was a boy? Anybody know that? There's 2 at least mentioned.
Swimming?
Wrestling and swimming.
I was going to say bicycle riding and soccer, because he liked to play goalie, because he didn't like to run. He liked to play goalie, and he liked bicycle riding. He used to ride around Calcutta on his bicycle. Maybe the other ones too. You may have different sources, but so as Prabhupada was a young boy, he also had interest in these things. So as parents, that's a whole other topic, but we need to make sure we keep some balance in the lives of our kids. So this whole idea of balance is very important. And for Krishna consciousness to grow ourselves, final point, maybe we'll open up with some questions. We Krishna says it's a world of happiness and distress. It's mixed. And similarly, sometimes we feel very inspired in our Krishna consciousness. We feel very enthused. It's kind of like the clouds of illusion fade away, and we can't understand why isn't everybody devoted to Krishna. And other times, maybe that realization is not so strong, and maybe it's a little tougher to be dedicated and steady in our Krishna consciousness. But at the same time, we need to at least gradually becoming more mature, more happy, right? Chant to be happy in our own Krishna consciousness. That's the best way we can preach. Somebody comes to the temple and sees that, your husband's happy, your kids are happy, you're happy. They want to know, well, what are you doing? Right? If they come into the temple, I'll tell the story. It just popped in my mind. When I was years ago, I was a young brahmachari, so we're talking almost 40 years ago. And we were traveling, we were distributing books way in Nebraska. And so we had a men's party, and that we knew, or we found out there was a group of ladies that had a little preaching center near the college from Los Angeles, from the LA temple. We were from Denver. So, we're brahmacharis. There's some Hare Krishna temple community close by, and it's Sunday, and especially if there's ladies that know how to cook a lot better than we do, we're going there. So I don't know if we let them know we're going, but anyway, we showed up, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of us. So we're sitting in this little living room, and there was a whole bunch of students. And one of the students said, they asked a question. They said, I don't know much about Krishna consciousness. Can you tell me something about it? Okay, these are college students, okay, like 19-year-old Americans. We know what 20-year-old Americans are interested in. Even when they come to a spiritual temple, they're not coming for austerity. So anyway, so they asked this very simple question. I don't know much about Krishna consciousness. Can you tell me something about it? So one of these young ladies, who's a very new devotee, obviously, from Los Angeles, she started to respond because, we're guests. We're not going to interrupt our hostesses. This is their event. So she started to answer the question. She said, yes. Well, the first thing you need to understand is the 4 regulated principles. That was her starting point with college students. So I can remember I was very rude. I just kind of like blurted out. I interrupted the whole thing and said, so where are you guys from anyway? Or what are you studying? Like, I couldn't believe, like, why are you talking to college students? Why would you start with all the no's? I mean, they're never going to come back. You don't start with that. Start with prasadam, start with chanting, start with, peace of mind, start with Bhagavad Gita, so many things. Why start with that? So anyway, sometimes we tend to do that. So in Krishna consciousness, the happiness that we're experiencing really becomes the thing that brings people to Krishna. And we know that Prabhupada's, just his being, his Krishna consciousness, his steadiness, just as a person, devotees, they picked that up. Prabhupada was calm, and Prabhupada was so determined, Prabhupada was so convinced, and Prabhupada has such a degree of like inner happiness and inner peace and determination. That's what attracted all these young people to Krishna consciousness. And of course, when he went back to India, same thing, that he's such a sadhu, his personal qualities. So we also want to kind of gradually develop those. And that's what's going to attract people. And then as we go on in Krishna consciousness, like when we read these, we should think, oh, I didn't know about accepting flower garlands. I go to the temple, people offer me a garland. I always say, no, I'm not a sannyasi. I'm not a guru. I'm not a senior. No, I don't want that garland. No, Nectar Devotion just said you should accept the flower garland. Nectar Devotion said that. Or maybe we go to the temple. Most of you do this automatically because you're familiar with the culture. Maybe we don't automatically go and get Charnamrita. Well, we just read, no, you should go get Charnamrita. Maybe we come to the temple and it's not the time of day that they normally would worship Tulsi, but we go and we seek out, or if we're a manager, we make sure it's there for everybody, that there's a little, cup of water and a spoon, so we can worship Tulsi. We can just fold our palms and say, Jai Tulsi Maharani. So in that way, we're fulfilling another one of these recommendations. So we can read this list. There's probably a lot of them that we're doing. individually. Some of it's more this one, well, that's that. But if we read these and we say, oh, well, I didn't know about that one, I can add that. Or I wasn't aware how important this one, I can do that one a little bit more. And there may be some that, oh, that sounds pretty difficult, but we can gradually, as we make spiritual advance, we can add that to our devotion practice. Again, Prabhupada says there's 64 items, and we should be, you know, I guess the main point I want to make, nobody should be thinking, oh my gosh, 64, I'm not doing those, I'm a bad devotee. It should be thinking like, well, there's 64 recommendations from Rupa Goswami, who's kindly chalked out the path for us to make more and more advancement. Let me take a look at the list. Whatever I'm already doing, let me continue doing that. Whatever I can reasonably begin doing, let me begin with that. And as I make spiritual advancement, I can add more things to my list. That's the way we can be thinking about that. So there's about 15 minutes left. Madhupati, we can see if there's some questions or comments.
Yeah.
And thanks to those of you that turned on your camera. I mentioned in the beginning, it's much better to give when you're speaking, when you see live people there. I don't know if you've ever done it. You're actually talking to nothing but names. That's horrible. Or worse yet, if there's maybe two people have their camera on and they both fall asleep, that's even worse. If that's the case, turn off your camera, no problem. That's all right. At least you can imagine there's people listening to you. So any questions or comments anybody might have?
Thank you very much, Anuttama Prabhu, for wonderfully explaining this nectar of devotion. Maybe you can comment on a little bit, because most of the devotees are grahasthas, working, maybe wife and husband, from the same point of view as you are quoting, Yuktahara viharasya yukta chetasya karmasya yukta swapna bodhasya. What does it mean, or how we practice this kind of, some kind of regulation while working, both of them? How do you maintain the balance? Like Prabhupada, kind of some of the examples from Calcutta devotees, or people used to work morning to evening, travel all the way, 2 hours one way, something. Some of the examples you can explain and see, so that most of us can connect and see how we can put into practice or simplify.
Well, I'll speak very openly. I'm staying with Namrupa and his wife, and I was hearing about, there's this class from 7 to 8. So I asked Namrupa, so how often do you have this class? Every Wednesday, every other Wednesday? He said, no, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And I said, so what, do you got a bunch of brahmacharis? He said, this is like a temple schedule. And he was explaining, he said, if I understood him right, that you kind of started this all during COVID, right? When we really, really needed each other's association. So we should try to adhere together as much as we possibly can. And it's tremendously beneficial for our spiritual advancement. At the same time, make sure we're keeping this balance. You know, there's something they talk about in management. Many of you may have heard that, you know, they talk about you can be in the comfort zone, you can be in the stretch zone, or you can be in the panic zone. You know, comfort zone, like let's give an example, say with some kind of exercise. You know, comfort zone is people, they go to the gym and they pick up like 2 pounds and they, you know, they do this 3 times and they go home. Okay, that's the comfort. They haven't done it. It's like a couch potato. They haven't done anything. Panic zone is you go to the gym, and maybe some of you out there, looks like Jatin, is that how you pronounce it? Jatin M. How do you pronounce your name, Prabhu?
Jatin Marwa.
Jatin. I can't tell for sure. It looks like Jatin could probably bench press about 300 pounds from here. It looks like that. But if I did that, I would die. That would be the panic zone for me. So I shouldn't be in the comfort zone. I shouldn't be in the panic zone. I should be in the stretch zone, right? I'm stretching myself a little bit. We all know if you do too much exercise, you know, you break. You can tear muscles, really hurt yourself like that. So in the same way in our Krishna consciousness, that's why I was asking people to turn on the camera. But at the same time, I said, if you're home, you're listening to this while you're cooking, cleaning, you know, whatever you have to do, driving home, that's fine. That's good. No problem with that at all. It's a very good thing. But we should make sure that we remember Krishna consciousness is for the long haul. And just as an example, I was just rereading Leela Amrita. I was just there visiting 26 2nd Avenue. Prabhupada kept in the early days in his personal room. He lived in the back room, and then the front room was where they would have some classes in addition to the temple. Prabhupada kept a big bowl of gulab. And Satsrup Maharaj explains in the book, devotees could come anytime they needed to and take a gulab. So he doesn't give any specifics, but my guess is some people are coming there a lot. Because if you need like a gulab to somehow make you feel happy and, you know, whatever you're dealing with life, if that's what you need, okay, do it. So I think we should always just keep in mind in terms of your question, Prabhu, that Krishna consciousness really is a long haul. It's like a marathon run, right? If you run a marathon, you see people running a marathon. They don't start out as fast as they possibly can for the first 200 yards because they're run out of steam. They're finished. You know, you have to pace yourself. So, I mean, I've been a devotee for almost 50 years. That's like, I'm getting old. I'm starting to realize, wow, I'm actually getting pretty old. I was at 26 second. No, I was at Brooklyn Temple last night. They had a program with young people, and I'm sitting around these young people, and I was asked, they asked me some question about, you know, I said, yeah, this happened in 1975, and they kind of had this blank stare on this face. I said, well, when are you all born? The old one there was born in 1999. And then one of them was 2001, the other was 2003, the other was 2006. I was thinking 2006, that was yesterday. How old are you? You're like 2 years old? And of course they weren't. They were, you know, an 18-year-old was born in 2006, which for me was a pretty big shock. So, but, you know, I'm still there. I'm hanging in. I'm still trying to serve Krishna. And I think a big part of that is recognizing that Bhaktivinoda Thakur described, we have, if I remember the categories, we have emotional needs, we have social needs, spiritual needs, and I think he said intellectual needs. Someone can correct me if you know the exact categories. But all those physical needs, somehow that was there. So we all have those needs. I stayed the last 2 nights with, some of you know, Jugal Kishore from Farmington, okay? Nice, super nice Vaishnava Brahmachari. I was going to bed at 10 o'clock and he wasn't there yet. And I was getting up at 3:40 and he was gone. So I asked him, like today, I said, so you don't sleep? What is it with you? You don't even need to sleep? And I know for me, I can go, I need like 6.5 hours of sleep. I can get 5.5, maybe 2-3 days in a row. And then I can't think straight. I can't function. So some of us maybe, you know, need 8 hours of sleep. Some of us can get by with 4.5 hours of sleep. So take what you need. Some of us, if you eat a sweet ball, you know, it's not good for you. Some of us, you don't eat a sweet ball, you can't function, right? So some of us, if I don't take a walk around my pond at least 3 times a week, preferably once or twice a day, I'm not feeling very happy. I got to get out. I got to breathe air. I've got to like look at nature. I can't sit in front of a TV screen all day. So we need to know what these things are. So Prabhu, when you asked about balance, balance is something largely we have to be aware. We're the spirit soul, but we have a material body. Most, if not all of you, grahastas, you have family, you have relationships. You know, you have to spend time on those. Those are important. I mean, sometimes I know, you know, devotees that from India. I'm obviously not from India. I got the wrong next lifetime, maybe. But a lot of times, you know, talk to devotees from India and they'll say they're going to go back to India. And they'll always tell me, you know, yeah, I'm going to go to Vrindavan and Mayapur. And then I say, but no weddings, no family, you know, and they'll kind of like, they're almost embarrassed to say they're going to spend 3 weeks with family and they're going to squeeze in 4 days in Mayapur and Vrindavan, which is great. But they have an obligation to spend time with their family. That's part of what they need to do. You all know this. It's this very powerful cultural thing. For me, you know, I mean, I'm old. My cousins are all married, but it wasn't that big of a thing if a cousin gets married. For all of you, you don't go to your cousin's wedding. They write you out of the family history. It's important to do. So that's a priority. So you do that, but you do it for Krishna. You keep in mind it's for Krishna, and you balance your life. And as Prabhupada said, you try to simplify those things. Maybe you go to your cousin's wedding. You don't have to go to your 5th and 6th and 7th cousin's wedding, right? That you can cut those out. So you minimize a little bit, and we try to maximize our Krishna consciousness, but not to the point as some people get to the point they're under so much pressure. As I mentioned earlier, they either quit or they fake it, you know, which isn't so good. Sometimes you see devotees, they don't have any time for Krishna consciousness, but then when their Diksha Guru comes, they're at the temple, they're all fired up. They're standing right in front, Jai Guru Dev, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo. And then Gurudev goes back to wherever he's from. You don't see him for a month. Right? It's like, whoa, did you learn anything when your guru was here? Didn't he talk about serving Krishna? Didn't he talk about serving the Vaishnavas? Didn't he talk about doing whatever you can do for the movement, for Prabhupada? So, you know, these things come with time. We get a little bit more mature. But did I answer your question there a little bit, Prabhu?
Thank you very much. Yes, it made a lot of sense. Yep. Thank you.
You're welcome, Prabhu. Yeah, remember one, you know, Prabhupada even quoted, one man's food is another man's poison. I know sometimes men, I think Indian men are a little more sensitive to this than Western guys. But, you know, like if a woman has a baby, that's like a major, major thing for their body. Sometimes women have, you know, postpartum issues, depression. They got to stop and take care of themselves, you know. And if the husband's like in the mood of like, okay, have the baby, cook, clean the house, chant your 60 rounds, and make sure you attend 2 classes a day, that's ridiculous. That's not Krishna consciousness. That's I don't know what it is, but that's not Krishna conscious. Krishna consciousness is, okay, this is a certain time of life, and you do the most you can for Krishna, and you pray to Krishna to help you, and you know, I'll clean the house, take out the trash, buy the groceries for a little while. Guys, step up. No, we have to be practical like that. Other questions?
Your devotees, go ahead. You can unmute and ask. Feel free to ask.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hi, Bo Murari Prema Prabhu.
I very much appreciate what you just said. I happen to be a devotee that lives in a remote place of the country. ICNJ happens to be what I consider my home temple, but it's 5 hours away. There's very, very few devotees where I live.
Hmm.
Can you speak to how I can continue in my Krishna consciousness while being separated from the devotees? You know, I try to attend as many classes as I can. I have many Zoom sanghas. You know, my sadhana is strong, but because of my life situation, I can't move closer to the devotees quite yet. But I'm experiencing, you know, significant separation from the devotees. Can you speak to, you know, strategies that might help me deal with this separation until I'm able to move?
Well, one thing is it's nice to know that Krishna invented Zoom just to help your spiritual life. Because, you know, if you think about it, before COVID, I mean, there was Skype for a couple of years, but, you know, this whole idea of being able to be in virtual association of devotees, this is new. This is very new. It wasn't there before, just you go back a few years. So that's a wonderful thing. And you're doing the right thing. You're taking advantage of that. You're trying to, I think for you especially, you can't go to a Sunday feast and be in the physical presence of 20 or 50 or 500 devotees. So to take advantage of the virtual opportunity for association is really important. I would maybe just suggest also if you have 1 or 2 devotee friends that, you know, like we're friendly with everybody here, but you probably don't have an opportunity to become so close. Like maybe you'd have time to sit and talk at the Sunday feast with. So to have 1 or 2 devotee friends in different parts of the world, again, or country that you can, you know, talk with on Zoom, that's actually important for all of us. Someone just quoted the verse a few minutes ago, that we can reveal our mind to and inquire confidentially, things like that. That's very important. Of course, keeping your home as Krishna conscious as possible. Things to remind you of Krishna. Bhakti is all about remembering Krishna, remembering, rejoining, re-yoking with Krishna. So, you know, photos of Krishna, kirtans of Krishna, incense offered to Krishna. Just try to make your home a Vaikuntha place. Whenever you can, whenever you have the opportunity, attend retreats, and, you know, maybe you come down whenever there's a 3-day weekend, or you get a little extra time off, you drive down, you associate with devotees. So there's no barrier at all. And I think you have wonderful opportunities to associate and just take advantage of the opportunities that you have. And frankly, somebody could be living, you know, at let's just say the DC temple or whatever temple, and they go twice a week. And the whole time they're there, they criticize and they fault find. And they look around the room about what everybody's not doing, and they don't listen to class. When they do listen to class, they're thinking, I'm really glad he's talking about that because so-and-so Das really needs to hear that. I'm so glad they're putting them in their place, etc. So they're not making much advancement. They may be physically in the room, but they're not getting a whole lot of mercy. Right? And you may be in wherever you are, 5 hours from Central New Jersey. And when you see a picture of the deities in front of on your screen, and you're just praying to Krishna, Krishna, I'm so unfortunate. I don't even get the association of devotees, and please help me, help me, help me. Somebody else is coming for darshan, and they're looking around thinking like, why did they let her dress today? I can dress the deities better than that. As an example, I'm dramatizing a little bit, but who's going to get the mercy of Krishna? Can't cheat Krishna. He's too smart. He knows what's going on. Is that okay? Is that helpful?
Thank you so much. It's very helpful.
Thank you. Do we have time for one more, Madhupati Prabhu?
Sure, sure.
Okay, quick one. Any quick ones out
Yeah,
there?
Dandavat Pranam Prabhu. I'm just saying the last one, which has 5 important ones. Living in Mathura. I thought living in Vrindavan is more. Uh, is it Mathura or Vrindavan, Prabhu? I mean, I went to both the
Well,
places
sometimes they say
last year.
Mathura Vrindavan, so I think it's both. But the main thing is Prabhupada said wherever the deity is, that's Vrindavan. And so many great devotees saying wherever there's great devotee is, that's also Vrindavan. So from the perspective of the pure devotee, I mean, although Prabhupada said some of those earlier lectures, he said, I'm very unhappy I'm away from Vrindavan and from my deities in Vrindavan. So in one sense, there's certainly separation from Vrindavan. But the other sense, we're meant to make our homes into a little Vrindavan, put, Krishna in the center. And it's a place only of devotional service as best we can do. So I think that's, in the practical sense, that's the most important thing. But if you go to India for a trip and you somehow you get to Vrindavan without stopping in Mathura, I don't think you'll be disqualified. So
I made it to both last time, Prabhu.
very good. Just see. Just see.
Prabhu, I had a quick thing to add to that, if that's all right.
Please, please.
Yeah. Like in the next of instruction, Rupa Goswami mentions that one should desire to stay in Mathura district. In Mathura district, one should desire to stay in Vrindavan. In Vrindavan, one should desire to stay at the lotus feet of Govardhan.
Hmm.
In Govardhan, one should desire to stay at the banks of Radhakund.
Nice.
Probably that's how Mathura may be coming.
I'm sure that's a nice explanation. And just to add to what you said, Prabhupada at one point in time told the devotees to stop bathing in Radhakund.
That's right.
There's some question whether that was meant to be a permanent instruction, but the reason, because devotees were going to Radhakund and jumping in and splashing around and all those kind of things that young people do.
Yes, yes.
And Prabhupada said, no, this is too sacred of a place. You have to be in the right mood. Then he
Yeah.
told, you can go to some other place and you can jump and play and splash, but not there. So again, that reaffirms this idea that the consciousness is what counts. And even if our consciousness doesn't seem so good, just like Prabhupada told Garga Muni Prabhu at that time, said, even if you don't feel like bowing down, bow down and the feeling will come. Like that. So yeah, there's one more question here. Madhura Leela?
Yes, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji. I just wanted to ask you, like, there are times where I feel confused. If I want to make a prasad for the deities, and I don't want to eat like carbohydrates, I don't want to eat rice, chapati, I just want to eat sabzi. But then normally we offer sabzi and roti, and so should I make food as per what the deities need, or as per my needs? Like, I just want to have a soup, or if I just want to have a fruit that day, I don't want to have sabzi. So I'm a little confused. So should I make it and then freeze it and eat it later on? Or
What kind of doctor are you?
I'm into palliative care and a primary care physician.
Okay, so you're a medical physician.
Yes.
Okay. So if I asked you, should I eat the food that's healthy for me or should I eat the food that's not healthy for me, Dr. Meena? What would your answer be?
What's healthy for you?
You should eat what's healthy for me. And the instruction that's given, I mean, we don't have, temple deities, they have a standard menu. But home deities, anything I've always understood, you should cook those things that you cook and prepare, for your family, for yourself, and offer those to the deities. So I guess just like it's described, whatever, I think it mentioned in that list, you should offer your favorite things to the Lord. So I'll give it, for instance, I always have this experience when you go, I don't know if many have been to Germany. When you go to Germany, you visit an ISKCON temple, I'll tell you in advance, they're going to have bread for breakfast, they're going to have bread for lunch, and they're going to have bread for dinner. Plan on it, And we all know if you go to South India, there's going to be rice for breakfast, rice for lunch, and rice for dinner. Maybe lemon rice, right? And if you go to, etc., right? You go to like Bengal, there's going to be a big pot of rice with dal poured right in the middle, and everybody's going to squeeze it up. So you go to Italy, there's going to be a lot of pasta, right? And practically these days, you go to any Hare Krishna temple around the world, I don't know if they offer to the deities, most places probably not, but I guarantee there's going to be pizza. That's why the teenagers keep coming. Between pizza and kirtan, the teenagers keep coming. So whatever we are going to eat, we should first prepare it and offer it to the Lord with devotion. And that's the basic rule. That's the main thing that we should do. And of course, if we have, deities in the temple is a very different thing. Then, every morning, so many Mongol sweets and certain things that different offerings during the day, Raj Boga, that's sent to my colleague. But at the home, generally not so strict. The home deities are there to help remind us of Krishna. You're a doctor, you're a working person. You can't necessarily cook 3 different types of food a day. Not there. And Krishna is a very practical person. He'd rather
Thank you, because
he'd rather you go to work on time with nutritious prasadam and not feeling stressed out than you're thinking, I've got to cook rice dal and chapatis for the Lord. But then for me and my family, I'm going to, it's rice and some fruit smoothie, it's fruit smoothie and something light in the morning, but maybe I'm supposed to freeze it. No. You just offer what you need to prepare for yourself and your family to Krishna with love and devotion, becomes prasadam, and then Krishna will be happy seeing that you're happy and we all make progress.
yes. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Is that okay?
Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, maybe should we stop there? I'm gonna.
Yeah, I think. I mean, if devotees or if you have some few more minutes, if any other devotees have any other concerns or comments,
I'm on vacation, so I'm good.
Okay. Any devotees, anything you would like to add? Any other comments or concerns or any questions you would like to? Please go ahead.
Can I ask one question?
Please. It's the second question.
You said you're free, so I would like to have to know, how do you chant? How do you that your chanting sometimes goes up and down? What methods do you take to improve your chanting, and what are your timings of eating, sleeping, chanting?
Japa chanting? Japa?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, you just all had a japa retreat, right? So I'm sure you learned a lot of things on your japa retreat.
But I wanted your personal touch to it.
My personal touch, the very first time I chanted Hare Krishna on a set of beads, I never heard anyone chant except for kirtan. So I took the beads home and I chanted one bead. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Second beat. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And I don't know if I placed the beads down. I kind of remember throwing the beads down when I finally got around and thinking I could never do this again. And of course, I went to the temple and they explained to me that that's not the way you chant. You chant differently. So, I mean, I have to be honest. Japa for me is not my favorite thing to do in Krishna consciousness. I like hearing philosophy. I like doing service. I love seeing the deities. I love kirtan. I don't know if I mentioned already, I love taking prasadam. I love to discuss with philosophy. I love to see people's hearts being changed by the process of Krishna consciousness. I love to meditate on Srila Prabhupada and hear about, this phenomenal soul who we are so fortunate to have this association with. I love to visit different temples. I love to hear from devotees about how they make progress in Krishna consciousness. And I chant japa because my spiritual master told me I should. That's my honest thing. And I try to go a little deeper in my japa. It's not my strongest suit. It's not my strongest suit. But Prabhupada asked me to chant 16 rounds a day, so I'm continuing to try to chant 16 rounds a day. And I try to, the one thing that I think is most effective for me is I try to remember that Prabhupada said you should chant japa like a child crying for its mother. And to me, the fact that our philosophy says Krishna is a personality who responds to the call of rebellious and sinful and forgetful, complex, confused souls when they call out to him like a child crying for their mother. It just says to me, I don't want to do anything else but follow this religion. Because it's too beautiful. It's too perfect. It's too ideal. It's too wonderful. And if I'm asked by the Supreme Lord to cry out for his help in the mood of a child crying for its mother, that's kind of pretty easy to do sometimes. Because a child's oftentimes confused and struggling and in pain and in doubt. And most of us, we definitely have periods of time we're confused and we're in pain and we're suffering and we're in doubt. Such a cutthroat place. Your doctor, one day they give you water, the next day you wonder if, some new intern is gunning for your job, right? Or, it's just the nature of things. So just knowing that in the midst of such a world where there's many nice people, there's many nice organizations that are trying to do good things in the world, but generally there's not a lot of people really trying to help others. And just to know that the supreme absolute truth is conscious, and it's a person, and that infinite person wants to have a relationship or reawaken his relationship with me, infinitesimal and small as I am, is just inconceivable. And it's inconceivably beautiful. It's inconceivably wonderful. And it's inconceivable that if chanting japa for a couple hours a day is going to help get me there, I'm ready to do it, whether I like it or I don't like it, because I want to come to understand Krishna. Is that okay?
Yes. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you for being honest.
Yeah, I get that questions sometimes, and and I think all of it. I think one thing we should end, but I think that we should seek. Like in this list we were reading, you should seek out advanced devotees. So sometimes we may have a tendency, there's someone we know who's critical. So we think, okay, well then I guess I can be critical because they're a devotee, they're critical. Somebody else is not very enthusiastic to do service. So we think, well, they're not enthusiastic to do service. Why do I have to be enthusiastic to do service? Somebody else doesn't chant very good japa. Okay, well, why should I chant good japa? Somebody else, they're a little not very generous with their finances, so I don't have to be generous. So we can choose all the negative things, Or I think what we really should be doing is seek out that person that really loves to chant japa and learn from them, just as you asked. You asked the wrong person, but it's the right question. How are you, what is it about japa that inspires you so much? And that person that, it's 10 o'clock Sunday night, everybody's gone home, they're all tired, and they're there mopping the floor and they're singing. Nittai Gauranga, and you ask, like, what is it that is, what is it about mopping this floor that makes you so inspired? And somebody else tells you, like, well, you see them, well, and they always have a book open. What inspires you to read all the time? And somebody else, you see, they stand in front of the deities and they have almost like tears in their eyes. Like, what are you seeing? So we should seek out those best of the qualities, and we should try to let that person be my guru. This is my devotion of the deity guru. This is my enthusiasm guru. This is my study of the Shastra guru. This is my hardworking guru. This is my humble guru. This person is so humble. This is my tolerant guru, like that. This is my parenting guru. My gosh, they're so devoted to take care of the kids. That's wonderful, etc. Pick a good quality. There's people in the community that are manifesting that, and learn from them and try to follow in their footsteps. Is that okay?
Nice point, Prabhuji. Thank
Like 24 gurus in Srimad Bhagavatam.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. We can have thousands of gurus, right? I mean, really, when we're making a little progress and we start seeing Krishna everywhere. Just was reading the other day, Prabhupada said that a pure devotee, he sees everything is connected to Krishna because it's the energy of Krishna. And when he sees the energy of Krishna, he thinks of the personality of Krishna. So in this way, he sees Krishna everywhere. Everything reminds him of Krishna. So, we all hanker that stage when, you walk outdoors and it's cold and you think of what is it? Vishnu jar, was that it? It's the Lord's cold weapon, right? He has a cold weapon, right? When you see a car driving by that's really fast, you think, wow, Arjuna's chariot must have been that fast. Or when somebody's really mean to you at work, you think, wow, this is great. Here's my chance to be humble and tolerant. Or somebody criticizes you unnecessarily, you think, this is wonderful. This is my chance to just completely depend upon Krishna, even when people are just giving me a bad name. Like that. That's we hanker for that. Anything and everything reminds us of Krishna. So but it's funny because I told you I'll have a balanced life, make sure you sleep, eat, and then I just took up more time than I was supposed to. So you all need to probably eat and sleep and spend some time with your kids and do all those other things and maybe chant your last little bit of japa and all of that. Okay. So thank you all very much. I guess there's a class tomorrow too, right?
Yes, Prabhuji, that we have class every Monday to Friday, every day, evening and also morning.
Tomorrow morning, there's a class of Anuttama Pr from 6:30 to 7 a.m. in the morning. At our, there's a different Zoom ID for that. We can post at Zoom ID. Can you just post, Sumesha Prabhu?
I'll post it out, yes.
In the chat.
I'll put that right now.
Yes.
Keshava Madhava, that's your daughter, just came over for a moment. How old is she?
Prabhuji, she is 7.5 years old. Her name is Braja Kishori.
Braja Kishori. Wow, what a beautiful name. Hi, Bo Braja Kishori. We can't see you, but we know you're there. You're like Krishna. We know you're there, but we can't quite see you yet. Hey, there's 2 children there. Who's
Yes,
that?
Prabhuji.
The other one?
The younger one's name is Janava.
Janava. Hare Krishna, Janava. Nice to see you.
Thank you so much for the blessing, Prabhuji.
Okay. Yeah. Prabhupada was very concerned about taking good care of the kids. I'll just say this because your 2 kids popped up and you're also nice you're still there. The most important thing with raising children or Krishna consciousness is, of course, we need to love them. We need to make sure we take care of their emotional, physical, spiritual, all those needs. And it's really important. Kids need to have fun when they come to the temple. You talk to any young people that kind of pushed back from Krishna consciousness, even though some of their parents were really nice devotees, And a lot of them they pushed away because it was not fun coming to the temple. Sometimes I've seen these little horror story dramas. You know, some mom or dad will come to the temple with like a 7-year-old child and they'll tell them, sit, you know, lecture's about to start, and they'll say, sit down and be quiet. You know, you're giving a lecture that's designed for people that are 30 years old, and it's torture for the child. And when you do that enough times, they make up their mind at 8 years old. As soon as I can say, no, I'm out of here. I'm never coming here again. And it happens. They're 13, 14, 15. They'll tell their parents no, or definitely when they're 18, they're on their own. They don't want to go to a temple. So make sure it's fun for them. You know, and then everything about Krishna can be fun. Everything's fun. But we just have to make sure it's fun. You know, maybe we need something austere and something more strict, but that's not what our kids need. They need fun. Connected to Krishna. Make Krishna fun. So many ways to do that. Okay. Thank you all very much. Nice to be with you.
Oh, thank you so much, Anuttama Prabhuji, for taking time and giving wonderful class, giving the essence of what is Krishna consciousness and how we can joyfully perform this devotion. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Let's all, yes, let's all together say Hari Bol 3 times, Prabhuji. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Hari Bol.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, everybody. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Also requesting, please, everybody, please also join tomorrow morning. I just put the Zoom ID on the chat. If you don't have, we'll also post it into the WhatsApp group as well. Hare Krishna. Panchakalpatarupashya kripa sindhubheva cha patidanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Vaishnavandaki jai. Viraj Shri Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu ki jai. Shri Rupa Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananda Kodi Vaishnavanda ki jai. Gauri Premanandi. Hari Hari.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so
Hare
much.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.